ואהבת לרעך כמוך. Love your fellow being as yourself. Written into the fabric of Jewish life, this tenet of Judaism has found no greater expression than in the work of the Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson. The beloved and revered leader of the Chabad Lubavitch movement, the Rebbe of blessed memory, taught and embodied the profoundly universal message that would ultimately unite humankind in the purpose for which it was created. Each of us must live a productive and virtuous life, giving to others by performing acts of kindness. This directive, to show love through action, has been the cornerstone of an organization and movement that spans the globe, one that has affected and transformed the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. From food kitchens for the hungry, homes for the destitute, schools for children, counseling and rehabilitation centers, children's camps, programs for visiting the sick, visiting soldiers on duty, inmates in prison, brightening the lives of the elderly, and community celebrations of life events. The work of Lubavitch Hasidim expands to fill a never-ending need. With over 300,000 followers, the network of Chabad Lubavitch centers worldwide is nearing 3,000. From Milan to Johannesburg, from the Ukraine to Uruguay, in downtown Detroit and uptown Manhattan, young couples are designated as emissaries to cities and towns near or far. Anywhere a Jew may be in need, here the couple begins their work of selfless and tireless devotion to secure a place for gathering children and families together, for learning, for prayer, for celebrating, and for feeling at home as a community and as Jews. In 1989, Rabbi Yisrael Landa and his wife Rachel were such a couple beginning their journey.
13 years ago, before we got married, was clear to us as we grow in a Lubavitch home and graduate Lubavitch schools that our goal in life is to live our life, not our own life, but to dedicate our life to the community. And it was important to us before we got engaged that we had an agreement that we're not going to choose where we're going. Wherever we are needed, that's where we're willing to go happily. And it was the Rebbe's direction that we come here to do an outreach program helping the Israelis who decided to immigrate here to Toronto. A part of our activity became to help needy families. Every community has needy families, and I believe the percentage is higher when people are immigrating to another country, when they don't have their immediate family with them, and they spend a lot of what they have before to make this move. So if something doesn't work out and they need help, they need a lot of help. My favorite part of the job is the most satisfaction I have when I was able to help a family with children and I was able to find a job for one of the parents. And I know that's real help. It's not only supplying them with a box of food, but they stand on their own feet.
It doesn't make any difference to the rabbi how rich or how poor a person is. The rabbi is very unique in that he looks at an individual as an individual, not for what they are or for what they have.
He's the type of person there that no matter how busy he is, you're looking at a million things to think about. He'll take his time to help out some 13, 14-year-old kid to find a place to go to school. That's just that kind of Rabbi Landa right there. He never pushes you to go the way that he thinks. He kind of always he's there whenever you decide you want to do what it is you want, and he's there to guide you on how to do it. It's very difficult to describe. He's almost like a spiritual father. You want to please him. You always want to be close to him, talk to him about whatever it is. Today when I mentioned to him I'm going to be with you guys, he right away, he's like, don't talk too much about me, talk more about Chabad, because that's really the type of person that he is. He doesn't, he's a very modest guy.
I see it as a very, very important people remember where they're coming from, and remember that maybe some people who are finding themselves now the way we found ourselves back in the beginning of our history here in Canada.
My husband was very, very sick, and for a long time, 15 years. And Rabbi Landa helped me from day one. The minute he came, he helped me with everything I needed. He's just, I can't say, there's no words in my mouth to say about him. He's so great. We are very lucky to have him. Very, very lucky.
When I'm at our shul downstairs in that little room, that's home. And that's the best place for me. I daven. When I used to go to shul, I always felt that I didn't belong, and I would stand close to the door because I couldn't read properly. I didn't feel like I knew what I was doing or what everybody else was doing. I felt out of place. Rabbi Lando helped me a lot. He had Rabbi Glukowski, Zichron Lavacha. He came to our house every Sunday and he taught me how to read Hebrew not properly, but as well as I could. And then when I went to shul, I came right up front and I started davening beside Rabbi Lando. That way I could hear his voice and see what I was reading, and that way it would help me out in the way I would pray. And since then, I've come a long way.
One day I called him that my father is in hospital and the situation doesn't look good. He was in intensive care. Next day, he showed up in the hospital. He went to see him and talk to him. I left them to talk by themselves. I left the room. When I came after half an hour, I saw my father with his tears in his eyes. I saw him, it was very emotional. And I saw how important it was to see him. 2 days later, he passed away.
Remember when he said the first time that he introduced us to the people, he said, "Welcome to the Chabad Israeli family." And you know what? It's a really family. It's a real family. I remember this sentence. Remember that he said, "Welcome." I'm crying because family for me is something very valuable, and it is.
There was a case when my son was in trouble. He was injured about 4 months ago, and in fact, it was on a Friday afternoon. Rabbi Landa got to the hospital before I even did, and it was ironic that I met him there. He stayed with me until we got the results from the doctors as to what my son's situation was, and at that point he even drove my wife back home. This is Rabbi Landa.
Dear Rabbi Landa, my name is Tali, and I'm writing to you on behalf of the Lalkin family. Our son Ofek was born on March 8, 1996 in Bnei Zion Hospital, Haifa, Israel. He was diagnosed with a cerebral palsy.
Ofek Lalkin's birth was 3 months premature, his life threatened and then saved by surgeries which rendered him a small child, able only to drag himself awkwardly across the floor. He was unable to stand. By way of the internet, they discovered an innovative treatment developed by a physiotherapist whose methodology was being applied in Canada. They decided to devote the summer to trying this treatment in Toronto, under the direction of the therapist herself.
It was a few years ago, 2 days before a concert, that we heard, and I received a letter from the family. They stopped treatments because they used all the money that they have, and they sold anything possible. And it really touched my heart. I met them a few weeks before that, and I was looking at ways to help them, but I didn't understand that actually stopped treatment. Here you have parents who left jobs, sold a home in Israel, and dedicate their life to give this child a good quality life. And they came here to Canada for this specific professional treatment, and they stopped it because they don't have money. So they don't have the home, they don't have the original jobs, they don't have the support from the family, and the child is not getting the treatment. How could you see something, what could be worse than that?
7, 8, 9, perfect. Now slowly. Oh, very good. Wow, what a good song.
The next day we celebrate, was a Purim concert, and I couldn't resist to use the opportunity to do something for it. So I asked the parents, and they told me it happens to be that was his birthday also.
So we went there, we sit in the crowd like everybody. And then in the end, I saw Rabbi Landa standing on the stage. And we were surprised because he started talking about us.
I took out the letter that I received from the family. And I introduced that we're going to have a 10 yards fund. And I thought, I don't know from where, I don't know how, but Ofik is somewhere in the room. Tomorrow morning you continue treatment. Going out from the concert, people saying good night. People told me it was a very nice evening, 1 week. It was a very nice evening, 1 month of treatments. Thank you for the concert. Get in touch with me. I will introduce you to people who will help. So just the next morning we paid everything that they owed, and for months and months it continued.
What's amazing in this community that he's running is that he didn't need to do so much. He just introduced us. He just told the people the title and the short story of us, and next morning everything changed. Like next morning was, you know how they said that in Purim, it's what's happened to the Jewish was a miracle. It was the day of our miracle. Like, it's not a small miracle, it's a big, big miracle to us. And next morning, the first telephone that the first thing that we heard in the house was good morning telephone from Rabbi Landa, and he said this word, call Esther and tell her that you're coming back to treatment.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the sentence that he said, call Esther and tell her that your financial problem for Ofek treatment finished.
I can see Ofek be an independent person, and that's why this program is so important, because by being independent and no need to have somebody to carry him or to bring him into the washroom and all these things, then he can just develop and do whatever he wants to do.
I always feel that we are partners. We are partners with the members of the community who are coming to create this family. And we definitely feel partners with our supporters. We are very, very appreciative towards the local Jewish community and the general community. Thank you to all of you, those who are with us in a partnership, is it financial or volunteer, and those who make us feel, us Israeli, feel welcome here to the Toronto community.
In Rabbi Landa's community, as in each Chabad Lubavitch community, acts of kindness, giving, and doing one for the other, ואהבת לרעך כמוך, is the very bond that creates community, that restores a sense of belonging, heals the soul, and brings to life the essence of being a Jew.